it's good like masturbated all afternoon.
All right then.
Seriously? All afternoon?
Well, 2.5 hours.
Who's got that kind of time? I like to get in and get out.
Well, I enjoy a quickie every now and then too, but when it's good like masturbated all afternoon.
All right then.
Seriously? All afternoon?
Well, 2.5 hours.
Who's got that kind of time? I like to get in and get out.
Well, I enjoy a quickie every now and then too, but when it's good like masturbated all afternoon.
All right then.
Seriously? All afternoon?
Well, 2.5 hours.
Who's got that kind of time? I like to get in and get out.
Well, I enjoy a quickie every now and then too, but when it's good like masturbated all afternoon.
All right then.
Seriously? All afternoon?
Well, 2.5 hours.
Who's got that kind of time? I like to get in and get
Idiot, 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 in your face, idiot, idiot.
Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no.
Time. We thought the Great Recession was a once-in-a-generation, hell, maybe once-in-a-century economic disaster.
As anxious and unsettled as maybe I've ever felt.
How am I going to make enough to really feel comfortable, or, just to make ends meet at that point?
I just felt really betrayed by the system.
For those of us that graduated into the worst economy since the Great Depression, many of us haven't gotten over it.
I had this idea and this dream and this vision of where my life was going to go. And then I had to put it on hold because there weren't jobs out there.
I still haven't recovered from 2008.
Recessions, while terrible for most everyone, are particularly awful for those just entering the job market.
If you enter the labor market at the wrong time, which this generation did, you're going to have ongoing problems. They're not transitory, they're ongoing.
And right as some of us millennials were finally getting back on our feet, bam, pandemic.
I think it's fair to say it couldn't have come at a worse time for them.
For the first time in modern memory, we're having to confront an ugly truth. That my generation will be worse off than my parents and grandparents were. Not because of anything we did or didn't do, but simply because we were born in the wrong years.
What our parents told us what our adult life could be, it just didn't work out.
This is Think Again, with me, Andrew Stern, where I take you every step of the way as I dig into compelling, complex, or controversial topics like this one. Unless you have a private yacht to escape to, this pandemic has been excruciating for just about everyone. It's too early to know which generations will be most injured by this. That'll take years to sort out. But one thing we do know is that the 1-2 punch of the Great Recession followed by COVID-19 in the span of just 11 years is an economic challenge different from anything we've seen before. And as fate would have it, the timing is uniquely bad in my region.
They have lower rates of employment overall. They have lower earnings. Debt, which of course is deeply related to that lower employment and lower earnings that they carry with them over time, and they're carrying all of that into this particular economic crisis.
The ethos of America is upward mobility. The American dream is built on the promise of each generation. The quality of life improves steadily. For as far back as the U.S. Census data goes, that's been true. Household wages have risen relative to previous generations. That is, across the education spectrum, earning less than the previous generation. But why? We're the most diverse, most educated, most productive generation in American history.
But from an economic standpoint, we could not have been dealt the worst hand. Twice. And as I learned from the experts, it all has to do with timing.
When a recession happens, the impacts are often uneven. These cohorts who are coming of age during economic downturns unfortunately experience really strong negative economic impacts. They come out to a very difficult labor market, and it's hard to get a good first job. It may be hard to get a job at all, but if they do get a job, they're likely to get a job that's maybe lower pay and lower
An enemy has been
than the job that they would have gotten had they graduated a bit earlier.
In 2008, 9, or 10, I think most of us were pretty happy to have a lousy first job, just so long as we had one. What I didn't realize at the time, though, is that that first job has major impact ripple out across your entire career.
It is true that the trajectory of your economic future, your life is altered permanently. Your first job sets you up for the next job, which sets you up for the career trajectory.
Retreat!
I checked in with semi-new, and their experiences before that out.
I either had to prepare myself for like a long stretch of not being able to work when I graduated 2010, or just trying to scrap for anything.
There were no jobs, and I remember being friends with seniors who were getting ready to graduate. They were panicked that they couldn't find jobs, and so they either had to work for free or work in a different industry. And the same thing happened to me when I finally finished college in 2000.
The legal market just blew up. It went from, jobs everywhere. There aren't any jobs. Seasons aren't any jobs.
That was the first time that I ever remember battling something that sounded like depression or anxiety. I was 30 pounds heavier than I am now. High blood pressure at the age of 37. I remember the mental and physical toll that it took was pretty profound.
Compared to Gen X, twice as many millennials took on student debt in college and grad school. And for those who took on debt, on average, it was 50% more than Gen Xers. It also doesn't help that college was dramatically more expensive for us. About twice as much. For many of us, our starting salaries were lower than what you normally expect. Millennials earn 20% less than baby boomers. We're less able to save for a rainy day. In 1965, the typical American first married around 20. By 2017, it was closer to 28. In 1972, the average age of first-time parents was about 24 years old. Now, it's 28 and a half. Everything was delayed at best, or impossible at worst.
Rampage! Need a website? Go to Fiverr.com and find a programmer in seconds. Or don't go to Fiverr. Waste your time interviewing 50 programmers.
I prefer code director.
Next. Find your programmer quickly and easily at Fiverr.com.
And I will show you how me and my friends are buying
An enemy has been bested.
It's called mergers and acquisitions. Who's looking to sell multi-better we're finding that business and then you can do your bulk design and we'll build it Retreat! You don't need any money or experience or good credit.
They're not making more than their parents. That speaks directly to the so-called American dream, the idea that each generation needs to be better than the one preceding it. And so if they compare themselves to their parents, which is a very salient comparison, they're going to fall short more frequently than had before been the case.
They've been left in a situation where they're sort of being held responsible as though their actions are what caused the circumstances in which they find themselves. When in fact, it was actually decisions that were made at a much higher level.
So we got dealt a crappy hand.
An ally has
Our
been
timing was
slain.
monumentally unlucky, and there was very little we could do about it. For most of us, this completely changed our mindset and outlook for the future.
Individuals like millennials who were engaged during economic downturns are more pessimistic about the economy, but they're also out their future chances of success, the likelihood that they will be happy with things, or they will retire.
I got you in my sights. Our economic policy work for you. And I feel like you're such a success in modern economy.
If you were to ask me a couple months ago, I would say fairly yes. But now, I don't think so.
Those two events, the relatively close proximity between the two, has shaken a lot of confidence that I have in the fundamentals of our system.
I just felt really restricted by this system, even though I was like inclined to what is really the system.
These feelings of angst translate to us. Have kids. The normal things that power the American economy become all and that was before COVID landed the second of the 1-2 punch.
Nearly a decade. I think we're getting back on get back on career trajectory. Sort of 1-2 for this generation.
The stability of like fighting to debt, like I didn't finally get when I turned 30, like the week I turned 30. And when the pandemic happens, for it to stop and be stalled, that is pretty traumatic. You know, I
God said she's still waiting on Divine. Eric contracted COVID-19, and after 10 days fighting it, recovered, went back to work, and was laid off a couple days ago.
The roller coaster keeps going up. When's it going to come down? Is it going to come down?
Brooks is on a 1-year contract as a professor for next year, but with steep cuts likely to hit higher education, long-term job security is no guarantee. Robbie was scarred enough from the Great Recession that he chose a completely different area of law to practice, specifically so he could weather a recession.
I still haven't recovered from 2008, and I'm kind of lost in
An enemy has been slain!
When I asked my larger friend group about plans for getting married, buying a house, and having a kid, many of them laughed. When I asked about their outlook for the future, almost none of them talked about
Killing spree.
This is partly why Medicare for all, canceling student loan debt, and other big structural changes imposed by politicians like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and AOC resonate with the country. They're the ones who the system doesn't seem to be working for.
That's fared well under the business preservation principle, self-reliant ethic. I think there has been a change in that sensibility and a greater recognition that some of the problems that this generation has been experiencing are not due to individual failings, but rather to systemic ones.
The individuals who experience economic downturns during their impressionable years are more likely to believe that economic success is the result of luck rather than hard work.
The problems are reaching such a level that it's hard to see yourself as the only person who chose your way into a particular situation, because it's the same situation in which you see your friends and your relatives.
B&H, how can I help you?
B&H is here.
An enemy has
From
been
our homes
slain.
to yours, as your collaborators, creative partners, and problem solvers.
What type of photography do you do? It's actually a very good choice. I've got a great mic that'll work perfect for that.
As always, we're here to help with all your plans, projects, inklings, and endeavors. With 47 years of creative expertise.
Oh, cool. You're setting up a live stream DJ set? Okay, I can help you with that.
So click, chat, or call us.
Sure, call back anytime.
Happy to walk you through it.
B&H, your creative partner since 1973.
Didn't say anything about not wearing a hat. Looks pretty natural.
Killing spree.
Come back here! So, you need a freelancer. The obvious choice is going to Fiverr. You finding designers, programmers, and more in seconds. You're not obvious. You're mysterious. You me. I'm non-conformist. You want to try finding freelancers yourself. Without Fiverr. Because you have time. It's not like you've got a deadline, or a business to run, or an anger management group you need to— Out of my way, Janice! You'd rather spend your time interviewing 50 graphic designers.
Red stylist.
Instead of easily finding a top-rated one on Fiverr. Nice. Now show me their portfolio. Beautiful. Okay. Great back. Amy simplicity just isn't for you. So you'll find yourself in that overpriced boutique studio that charges triple for the same gig, and think to yourself, well, at least they gave me a tiny branded water bottle, because you know how important it is to keep hydrated.
Enemy has been slain.
Fiverr lets you set the budget without compromising on quality. The last thing you want are surprises or setbacks. Fiverr lets you set the schedule and delivery time to precisely meet what
That line.
Great metaphor. You can go now. Oh, and one last thing. Fiverr puts an end to endless paperwork. That's right. No more forms to fill out. But hey, you can probably get a qualified coworker to do that, right? Mommy, look! He's an artist, just like his father. Do the obvious. Find your freelancer at Fiverr.com.
This video is brought to you by Hunter. Her case was sent to the San Jose Police Department, and 5 days later, she was found dead in the back seat of a rental vehicle in an Almaden neighborhood. There were no signs of physical assault, and no drugs in her system either. Shortly after their phone call, Valenti's family went to the police in search for Erin. The family gave details about her rental vehicle, including the make, model, and license plate. The police actually managed to speak to her through the phone that night, but also found her communications to be bizarre. Weinstein contacted Verizon Wireless and found out that the last place Erin's cell phone had signal in was on Menlo Drive, north of the Almaden Expressway. Her phone also pinged a few times up north, before shutting off. Officers investigated both areas, as well as nearby hospitals for several hours, but found nothing. Interestingly, her rental vehicle did not have any sort of tracking device on it. The family also attempted to locate her phone using apps such as Find My, but were unsuccessful. Despite the fact that Erin was clearly in danger, the police supposedly did not report an official missing persons case until Thursday, October 10th, 2019. By that point, the family hadn't heard from Erin for 3 days. This is due to the police believing that her disappearance was not a top priority, simply because she was an adult and could have just decided to take a few days off. Sounds crazy, but people have voluntarily disappeared on their own accord, because of an abusive partner, home life, or such. As noted by spokeswoman Sergeant Melody Gray, if you're over 18, you have the rights. However, given that Erin was the CEO of a fairly large web development company that worked on contract, not subscriptions, and that she was even set to receive an award for entrepreneurial excellence a mere 2 days later, it's highly unlikely that she would choose to leave. Still, when the police eventually did file her disappearance, they described her as being voluntarily missing and didn't actively search for her.